Discovered my 39 meters wife's 35F affair. I am afraid that too many specific details will make this obvious, but the amount of detail I am willing to include will make me seem incredibly naive. My wife and I do a hobby. Through this hobby we met someone, years younger than us. He seemed to want my approval or friendship, over that of my wife. Time passed, my wife became more involved, so we became friendlier with this guy, but it coincided with us forming lots of new friendships in the community, so it didn't seem all that unusual. I liked him, he seemed like he liked us. I did think it was a bit weird how at some point my wife and he became close friends, that hung out all day, when I was at work. But with the age difference and how long my wife and I had been together, plus kids, and her assurances that it was ridiculous to think anything of it, plus, he and I were friends, it just didn't seem plausible at all. I trusted both of them, sort of. There were other instances, small things that made me wonder, but, for whatever reason, I saw these things, and while I wondered, I also just shook it off as me being possessive and jealous, because she wouldn't do that. If I mentioned something she would brush it off in a way that made me feel dirty-minded for thinking it was possible. I would occasionally have intrusive thoughts that something was definitely happening between them. Like, the idea would pop into my head randomly, or I'd have weirdly vivid dreams about it. I could sit there and convince myself it was ridiculous. I know my wife. But even still, intrusive thoughts are what they are. So I meditated on their relationship. Which is a pretentious way to say I thought through various scenarios of what their relationship actually was or could be, to see how it would make me feel. There's nuance, but essentially, I realized it didn't bother me in the way society implies it should. I know how that sounds, but it doesn't turn me on either. I don't want to be involved or watch or anything. It just isn't something that I feel I have a right to be really possessive over. She will make her own choices. Now, this might make me seem pretentiously try-hard zen or whatever, but I am not. Other stuff bothers me. I get moody, things upset me. I am antisocial and depressed at times. I know I am not always the best company. So yeah, I am human. She is human, our relationship has issues. She has issues, I have issues, let's all get together and compare meds. Like, whatever. In the end get to choose what bothers me. She was home with me at the end of the day. Whatever else is whatever else. So I never had confirmation that anything was actually going on, and at a certain point I just accepted that whatever it was, it was. Eventually, they had a falling out over something. She seemed quite angry at him. But it seemed to make sense at the time. More time passed. And, here's a thing that happened. She has a journal. I knew about it. I had never sought it out. If you had asked me, I would tell you I have no interest in reading it. She has had this thing for years. And I have never indulged the idea of reading it, looking for it, or acknowledging its existence. But, I was cleaning one day, I didn't even realize what it was at first. It was in a different cover to when I last saw her writing in it. Anyway, I look inside this booklet, to see what it was. And, I should have stopped reading when I realized, but I didn't. Like Augustus Gloop in the chocolate room, I wanted more. I stuffed my face, and nearly drowned in gooey mess. In it she had laid out the stages of her growing feelings for him. Her longing for the escalation of their relationship. The pleasure she took in it, and the slowdown of communication to eventual breakup. At the time I thought the emotions she was having about him were a bit intense, but I believe I have trouble with emotions. So I assumed the friendship going south explained it, and I just didn't understand because I don't have friendships the way she does. But why no, reading her journal, it kind of laid it out that I was interpreting her emotions correctly. She was just not being honest with me. I mean, all along, what I was thinking about their relationship was not necessarily 100% accurate. The HTI was not far off. The entire time she was telling me how ridiculous the idea was. The very things I would ask her about she would write longingly in the journal how meaningful they were, while telling me I was reading into things, and paranoid, seeing things that weren't there. So I guess the lying and making me feel like I was imagining things, and telling me I was misinterpreting innocent things as dry. It bothers me. The intentionality of it. I totally understand why she went with lying about the situation and their relationship to me. It is required part of affairs, right? I guess, it hurts a bit she would do this, while telling me the opposite, but it's not like there is an alternative. That is how affairs work. I just feel really naive that I believed she was better than that. You know, since she told me she was better than that. And I get it, he was fulfilling an emotional connection that I was unable to for whatever reason. Depression or selfishness, or being miserable at work all day and not talking to her when I got home, or any number of other things I did or didn't do. I am not really sure if there is one specific thing. But she felt she wasn't getting what she needed from me and found it elsewhere. I am not even suggesting she didn't mention feeling alone and neglected beforehand. So, I get it. But, since I got this information from her journal, I don't exactly know what to do with it. Like I say, I understand a lot of the reasoning, I understand a lot of her pain. Time has passed, and I feel like I have faced the reality long before I had confirmation. So there is not as much shock or anger. But at the same time, I am a little disappointed at how easily she indulged herself and lied to me about it. Like, it's a touch selfish. Hurts a bit. I'm kind of struggling a little with how to proceed. I have no interest in divorcing her over this. I guess, I don't even know whether or not I should even bring it up. What is my motivation? Playing gotcha? I don't even know what I want from the conversation. She is not sorry, at least, not sorry enough to bring it up or admit it to me. I have no doubt this is something she would rather stay secret forever. If she feels guilt, it doesn't appear to be strong enough to compel her to come clean. So if I talk to her about this, I don't even know what I want her to say. It's not like me telling her it hurt will be a revelation to her. She isn't an idiot. On top of that, I have to face the fact that I VO.ted her privacy. It's not like her journal was sitting open and I couldn't avoid seeing giant clear words. I picked it up, opened it, realized what it was and chose to continue reading instead of putting it down. So, does anyone have any words of wisdom? TLDR, my wife brought her affair partner into our home as a friend and made me feel I was being unfair to her by suspecting it, till her journal confirmed it. What do? My 26M girlfriend, 26F, seems to be depressed. She is ignoring me but doesn't break up. Are we done? Story 2. Hello everyone. I'm looking for your advice here because I'm at my wit's end. I am M26 and have recently started dating my partner W26. We met a year ago at her workplace, and then in October I had the courage to ask her if we could do something. 1 month later we got together. So far so good. At first, of course, we were on cloud 9 together. We addressed every conflict and every problem immediately and were actually very harmonious with each other. Towards the end of December, the time had come and she had what she calls quite a down. She hardly ever got in touch, was very distant, etc. At first I was convinced that this was just her way of being. She is also taking a progestogen pill for medical reasons, which can result in things such as a breakdown, down phases and emotional unavailability. After about 2 weeks we sat down together, talked about everything and then everything was fine again. But about 2 weeks ago, the whole issue started all over again. Only this time it was worse. Nevertheless, we went on a little trip to another city with my sister. She gets on very well with her. On this trip, she behaved as she always does with me. Holding hands here, kissing there, everything was normal. When we dropped my sister off after the trip and we were in the car, I naturally asked her about the current situation. She told me that everything was simply too much for her at the moment and that she was overwhelmed with everything. According to her, this should affect the relationship. She is no longer at peace with herself and is completely dissatisfied with herself and doesn't know what to do, but she definitely has feelings for me. Her job is currently so demanding and stressful that I don't think it will take much for her to burn out. In addition, she has a stressful family relationship and had to learn to cope on her own at an early age. She spends a lot of time alone and isolates herself. We then agreed to give her a week to just get her head back on straight. But as is sometimes the case, this uncertainty really gets you down. You hardly have any contact during this time and are super distant. So I came up with a super clever idea of writing to her about 1 to 2 times a day. Without success. However, she kept in touch with my sister. Only sporadically, but still. 1.5 weeks went by and we met up to talk to each other. Of course, I apologized for my spamming at first. She accepted that too. After a bit of small talk and laughter, we got down to business. She was visibly nervous and barely managed to form a sentence. She told me that she could see how much this distance was getting me down. But she knows that in her current phase she's barely able to have a relationship and can't give me what I deserve or what I'm trying to give her. She doesn't want to be a burden and doesn't want to get in the way of my life. She doesn't know how she feels at the moment. Everything is uncertain for her. At the moment, she gets up in the morning, goes to work, comes home, eats and goes back to sleep. She has no energy or strength for anything. She feels tired and exhausted and overwhelmed by everything. Accordingly, she would suggest that we temporarily separate from each other so that when she's feeling better, we can get back together. I immediately blocked this and said that this was out of the question. Together to the end or not at all according to the motto. I assured her that I had started to come to terms with this distance and that I would be there for her no matter what and that she could contact me at any time if anything happened. She then said that she just didn't know when she would feel better again and what the result would be for our relationship and whether I would really be able to stand it. We agreed on this, in limbo but still together. We hugged outside and said goodbye. I kissed her on the forehead and said that we could do it. Let's move on to the present. I hardly get any signs of life from her. My sister and she are actually still in active contact. According to my sister, she comes home from work, watches TV and then goes to sleep. She behaves very isolated. As I said, she is overwhelmed by everything, doesn't talk to me, doesn't do anything and just keeps to herself. She seems very emotionally numb. She doesn't have a real support network either. She is an emotionally cold mother who only demands and doesn't give, but who has never seen her daughter as her favorite child. She has a few friends, but she rarely if ever talks to them about such issues. Now my question is, in my eyes these are signs of depression and I no longer know how I should behave towards her or how I can help her. She says that she can't have a relationship like this in her current situation. She doesn't respond to my messages and acts very distant. My sister and she also keep in touch less. The fact is, we haven't broken up yet because I once told her I was prepared to bide my time. I've just told her that we should have one last conversation to sort it out. She's acting super distant and super cold. It was never like that before. This behavior came from one day to the next. Is this relationship doomed? TLDR. I think my girlfriend is depressive. She isolates herself and hardly talks to me. I don't know what to do anymore. She keeps in touch with my sister, but that's it. She seems emotionally dull and exhausted by life. I, 21F, need advice on whether or not to break up with my boyfriend, 21 meters, of 3 years. Story 3. Hey y'all, so I, 21F, am in an, about to be, 3-year relationship with my boyfriend, 21M. We're doing pretty good, we're not arguing and there's no red flags so far, at least not that I've noticed. And most of the time I really feel like this is person I can spend forever with and have a family with and all that good stuff. But I also have like a lot of moments of doubts. It's happened continuously over the course of our relationship where I'll feel like maybe we're not compatible or maybe he's not the one for me. Sometimes I'll get bored of the relationship. And we're from different cultural backgrounds, which is something that's a pro and con for me sometimes, so sometimes that has me leaning on we're never gonna work and I should end this, or I'm so happy with him, let's be together forever. Also, I don't know if I'd say we're making love compatible because making love with him is kinda always painful. Not that he hurts me or anything, it's just like it's hard to get it in or I'm not like aroused a lot. And we've tried L.be and stuff and it doesn't work, and honestly sometimes making love UAL with him just feels like a chore. Sometimes I also kinda think I would rather be in a platonic relationship with him, but if we broke up we'd never stay friends, so that holds me back. I also have a lot of reservations that I feel are mostly selfish, like if I'll ever enjoy making love. Not sure if it's a medical thing which I'm gonna get checked out or just a me and him thing. So I don't wanna end up in a relationship with little to no making love for the rest of my life. A lot of the time I feel like I'm so dependent on him for stuff in my life and just his presence that I don't wanna lose that, or I'm scared to lose it, which I feel is kinda selfish. I'm always battling between whether I think we're a good fit or if it would be better for both of us if we broke up. Also, me and him have talked marriage a lot and I really don't want to get married and end up getting a divorce. But it's something we've mentioned wanting to do in the next 2 to 5 years, and recently I've just been feeling like I'm stuck or I might be making the wrong decision. He's kinda like my first real relationship since I turned 18 that wasn't like petty or childish or just toxic. I feel sometimes like I don't have enough experience to want to stick with just him forever. YK. Also kind of a case of FOMO. And I don't think I would even want to break up just to date other people, although that would be nice. I feel like I genuinely just want to be alone a bit and kinda be single and enjoy it in my adulthood when I can actually understand the perks. Also, the start of our relationship wasn't the best on my part cause I didn't really like him. I had just got over a really bad crush on someone else and then we got close and I asked him out and I honestly didn't think we'd last long at all, and now we have, and at the beginning I kinda kept waiting for him to do something or for something to happen that would break us up, but it never did. Even our arguments have never been that serious. And overall it's just a lot. I don't think I could type all at once, but I just want honest advice on whether it might be a good decision to break up or take a break and kinda just be single for a bit. Another side note is that when we started dating I kinda isolated myself because before that I had a lot of guy friends I used to talk to and flirt with, and our relationships were very like mixed or had been semi-making love UAL of the sort, so I kinda withdrew from them and then I kinda withdrew from social media. Not his fault, but I just kept self-isolating to where just he and my best friend are like the only friends I have or talk to regularly, and it's no fault of his, but I feel like now he's become like a clutch or cradle and I find it so hard to put myself out there and get to know people, and I'm just in my shell now and it's honestly kinda depressing. And I'm probably misdirecting my feelings and maybe I should be working inwards on myself, but I just keep wondering if maybe it would be better to break up and go our separate ways and then just find myself and be forced to like be social and live outside my bubble. So my question is, do you guys think breaking up with him would be best, or am I kinda delusional? Kinda overthinking things and just need to calm down? TLDR. Been having doubts over the past couple years about whether to end my 3-year relationship to see what singlehood has to offer. Also wondering if the person I'm with is the right fit for me. My 23F BF, 20M, doesn't love himself and it saddens me. Story 4. I know, the age gap, etc. I was in a LDR for a long time before meeting him, and I fell in love with him. It has been more than 1 year since we got together and, well, I need to talk about it and ask advices so I can better help him in the future. It's my first post on Reddit, so I'm sorry if I did something wrong. I'm sorry if sometimes my English is not very good, it's not my first language, but I'll try my best to explain everything. So 1 year ago we got together. He was my brother's best friend, and we met through Overwatch. There was already some kind of flirt when we met, through voice calls, but it wasn't until January that we started talking to each other regularly. He was in an abusive relationship with his friend. She didn't want to be with him but called him every day, at random hours, sometimes at 4 a.m. She spammed him with ton of messages, and well, for me they were kinda together because she showed sign of jealousy. And I was with my LDR, a random guy the first found on the internet, 2 years together. It was so simple and natural to fall in love with him. He was nice, cute, and my boyfriend didn't want to give me the attention I needed. He never had the time for me, and did things I didn't want him to do, go clubbing as if he wasn't in a relationship, and well, forced me to do making love webcam videos with him when I was sad or not in the mood. The last straw to our relationship was during Valentine's Day. He didn't spend a minute with me, or didn't even try to send me a message. I was left alone, so I played with my brother and his best friend, and it kinda lasted all night. I didn't sleep, and it was just amazing. I was so happy. We talked about our past relationship, our difficulties, everything that happened in our life. I never felt a bond like that with someone else, but I tried to brush off this feeling because, well, he was my brother friend, and too young for me. He didn't abandon the idea, though, and after a while, I decided to accept him. Because I was in love and I couldn't help it. At first, it was perfect. Nice boyfriend, always worried about my well-being because I'm sick. I have Ehlers-Danlos, if someone knows. It's a very destructive illness, impacting my daily life, interested in everything I do. But then, one day, he changed. I couldn't talk with my friends, go out without telling him, and it was just so sudden I didn't have time to realize what was happening. I had to activate the Snapchat localization so he could see where I was, at any time. He throws a fit over small things. For example, last month, he insulted me because I bought a Lifeweaver skin. He doesn't like Lifeweaver and he always says that I play this character him because he is cute, which is not true. He doesn't want me to play him, so I don't. He doesn't want me to play video games with cute guys, so I can't even play Final Fantasy. When I don't want to play with him, he just insult me and say that I don't love him and never did. Everything revolves around my love for him. When I say no for making love, you don't love me. When I say no for something, he throws a fit. Sometimes, he is angry at me because some dude sent me a friend's request on the PSN or battle.net. He have access to all my social media, and he always check if I talked with someone. I can't talk with some members of my family. I don't have the right to play Genshin Impact because for him it's shish. Tai. Everything I do is shish. Tai. And I know he just have issues with himself, because he's used to being insulted, treated like shish. T by his friends. One girlfriend cheated on him. And I know it's my duty to prove him I love everything about his person. But I try my best and it's never enough. I always do something wrong or I don't give him enough attention. When I feel bad, he tries to conform me for like 4 minutes, before asking for attention. I can't do anything with my brother, he's the most important person in my life, so I spend a lot of time with him. I can't even go to some classes because he wants me to stay at home. And well, I never had any confidence in myself, so I just let him do everything he wants. I just don't know what to do. I need help putting his mind at ease. Do you know how I can help him? Am I a bad girlfriend? Every time he needs me, I'm here to listen. I remember everything he told me, and I even play games I don't like, watch series and movies just to talk about it with him. I just don't know what I can do to make him feel better. So if you have any suggestions, it will be wonderful. I just want to make him happy. I'm so tired and I feel so sad because of it. I don't want to end this relationship. Maybe he just needs me to do more? Thank you for your time and sorry, it was a bit too long.